Hello, everyone. Welcome and good evening to Four Lads Monday Night Podcast. The season's over, but the work never stops. We've had a few days off, actually, and just let the speculation run itself wild, and it certainly has. Even I said to the guys just before we come on, where are we with this chat? Because it's just, you don't know which way you're coming or going. I'm starting to get to the bit where I really just want a conclusion. So to discuss that with me, I have my two lovely co-hosts, Sheryl and Kenny. Good evening, all. How are we?
Yeah, good, thank you. I don't know about you guys. I think I'm going the opposite way, Stevie, that I'm getting even more entrenched in it and becoming like a kind of obsessive basket case over it. So yeah, the sooner that it can get concluded for everybody, but including my kind of mental health, the better.
I'm all good, mate. Thank you. Hi, Sheryl. And let's enjoy this wee hour when we've got not enough a lot to talk about, have we? So let's see where we go.
Yeah, Livy and Ross County dominates the thoughts for our 8 o'clock kickoff, isn't it? So everybody knows that I like my championship football. So we'll get to that. Just a thank you as we start. Thanks to our members. We have almost, I think, 300 members, which is an incredible response. I'm going to try and get all your names across the bottom of the show as we talk about and discuss things. So really thank you to that. Thank you to our sponsors as well. Rhino Express, Jim and all the guys over there. Mando, really good friends of mine. Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, as well as our partners Black Rooster and Art of Gold. So, we really appreciate it. Folks, get all your comments in. What an accusation that is to start. Bet Sheryl feels like Cinderella along with these two. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. Thank you to Dave T, who off the bat has become a YouTube member straight away. Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it. As you can see, becoming members is honestly, it's supporting us. It's we try and give a little. There's some more things that you can get as a member. Stephen A. Smith interview, Bob Malcolm interview, Stephen Smith interview. There's a couple of wee things to look at there for members only as well. So if you want to check that out, please do. There'll be more content coming, a few members only shows with the pod, getting to know the podders and things like that. So we'll try and do things that we think, we've not got any shows lined up, but we've got a few ideas which we'll maybe try and get some done. But getting to the weekend, Sunday Scottish Cup final for the women's team. Obviously lost the league on the last day last week, which was really, really disappointing. Such a bad performance. I've written about the women's team so many times, and that they seem to be so capable in one moment and then look absolutely woeful in the next. But on Sunday, they were absolutely fantastic. Sheryl, a 3-0 victory over Glasgow City, a double-double, the second league and Scottish Cup triumph for the women. But they all said the same thing. The league was the one they wanted, and that's the full focus now. But a little bit of congratulations to them, because they really did respond to what was a horrible end. We were there. You were doing writing for follow, etc., and it was horrible to report on. But they bounced back, and they really do. I thought they were fantastic on Sunday. It's like, honestly, it's like watching two different things. So it was great to see them do that, and great send off for Jane Ross as well in her final game.
Yeah, do you know what? They're very similar to their male counterparts in that sense, aren't they? The way that we've been this season as well. But like you say, Stevie, that Sunday, I think last Sunday, within about 20 minutes, you could just tell that it wasn't going to be their afternoon. The Hibs defended incredibly well. But yesterday, credit to them, because obviously we were in the press conference afterwards. They were all extremely down. You could hear the celebrations coming from the Hibs dressing room. That must have been incredibly hard to take. And all they spoke around in those pressers were how they were going to have to come back together on the Tuesday and rally and pull everyone together. And they certainly did, because that game was finished, I think, after about 49 minutes yesterday. A really, really strong performance from them. A lot of character, and what it maybe does, I know they wanted the league, but it maybe maybe just gives Joe Potter a wee bit of breathing room, because I think if they'd lost the cup yesterday, there would have been serious questions around her role. So it just maybe gives them that platform to move on and get the treble next season.
Yeah, and they've been so close. That's 2 final day defeats in the league. I actually didn't hear the press conference stuff, Sheryl. As you know, I was feeling a bit off last week, so left straight away. I'm not sorry that I missed it. I am sorry that I missed yesterday to support the team, but I just wasn't feeling great and up to it. So watched from afar. Mind you, that's me. I missed the League Cup final and missed yesterday. Maybe it's me, Kenny. Maybe I'm the issue with this, because I wasn't there during, you know, the 55 season. None of us were, and we were unbeaten. Won every game at Ibrox in the league. So maybe there's some. Maybe I should just stay away, mate. But a really good afternoon for the women. A nice way for them to end their season.
Yeah, damn sight better season than the men had anyway, put it that way. But listen, I watched a little bit of it, and as Sheryl had said, they seem to dominate the game from start to finish. It could have been a lot more. It should have been 7 or 8 from what I seen. I noticed the decision with about 20 minutes to go, wasn't it, with the red card, and the referee doesn't give it. And it's the most clear and obvious red card I've ever seen. And you think, well, there's more referees in this country. It just mystifies me how bad they can be at times. He's got to go to VAR, and he takes one look at it and goes, oh, yeah, obviously. So Cheryl's right on Joe Potter. You know, there is question marks about losing the league in the last 2 seasons in a bounce, and it must be incredibly disappointing for her on a personal level, because she's put herself into that position, and she could have had 2 trebles, and she's not won that league yet. So let's see what happens. But I've got to say, I was delighted for them the way they bounced back, because they came out with a point to prove, and they certainly proved it, because, as I say, that Women's League's been incredibly tight all season. The top 4, top 5, there's very little between them, is there? So to end up with 2 trophies is good. But as you say, the focus was on winning that league, and they've not managed that. So they'll feel a little bit disappointed, oddly, because they've matched what they've done the season before, but they wanted that league, and they've no Champions League football, so that's disappointing. But apart from that, you can't overly grumble about that. They've done. It's been a good season for them. Just ended in a damp squib in the league, that didn't it? So, but fair play to them. As I say, they've been a damn sight better than the men's team this season to watch, I think. So it is what it is, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well done. Well done to the women's team. But let's move on and talk about the papers today. I think that's an interesting place to start. A disappointing place to start. I think Keith Jackson had a story, and here's what everybody's fears were. I think that when you read it, or if you don't read it like me, but it's been highlighted on social media quite a bit about comments by Keith Jackson, which seemed to be emanating from Barry Ferguson's camp. Barry thinking that he could, or he would have sacked Niels Koppen if he had been kept in the role. One of the biggest issues for everyone, Sheryl, was that Barry Ferguson would be running to the Daily Record, and in particular to Keith Jackson. I don't know. I haven't spoken to Barry, and I haven't spoken to anyone close to him to find out. What I would say is that Keith Jackson has been thrown a lot of stuff lately that's been massively missing. The Czerny clause stuff and things like that, which was never true. It was just not true in the slightest. And he spoke about, you know, Ferguson's team with John Souttar and Balogun and stuff like that, and it was all off as well. And I'm not sure if he's writing from a position of think or trying to make it out like he's speaking for Barry Ferguson, because I don't want to sit here and really go for Barry when I don't know if he's actually told him anything about it. But this was the biggest fear, wasn't it? That Ferguson would be like a lightning rod for the papers to go to, and he would pass on the kind of stories and everything else. But this one in particular seems to say that Koppen has been outed by Ferguson as being a completely weak link and he would have been sacked. What's your thoughts on this? Is it troublemaking? Is it trying to sell papers? Is it a line to seem like he's in the know? Is he still battering the Ferguson drum? All of it, I think, is just a bit unnecessary.
Yeah, do you know what? It kind of broke later this afternoon. I'd been out all day and then I got home and kind of seen it all flare up on social media. I just think it's dead bizarre. And I think it was Declan that said in the comments, which was the thing that I had first thought, why on earth Barry Ferguson would think that he could, have anything to do with someone who's a kind of further up the chain than he is, as well, as if he would have the power to do that. It's really bizarre. But I think if he has, and I had a huge amount of respect for the way that Barry Ferguson conducted himself during that time from February till very recently. I think he spoke very well. I think he dealt with the media very well. He dealt with the fans very well. So it's just completely bizarre if this is the turn that it's taken. To me, it just seems like a nonsense story. I think it'll be very easy to work out whether it's come from Barry Ferguson or not, because if it hasn't, then, all he has to do is come out and say this hasn't come from him. It's nothing to do with him. I just think it's dead strange. I understand why people have question marks around Koppen's role and around how well he's done so far. We could probably have a separate pod on that. But it's a big if this is the route that Barry Ferguson's gone down. I find it really strange because he spoke a lot about going back to that ambassador role and being part of things in the club. I don't know. I just find it extremely strange that this is the route that he may have gone down. But like I say, it might just be people trying to sell papers, clickbait, getting stories out there. I don't know. Kenny, your thoughts?
Can I just say one thing quickly? Barry's on holiday. He's out the country, so I'm not sure he'll even be aware of what's went on or what's been said. I'm not sure. Look, I can't say either way about what Barry's done in all this. I'm just a bit reluctant to. It seems like an easy throwaway line from that particular journalist, and easy to seem like in the know, but it could also just be stirring up trouble. Keith's been really positive on this takeover right at the start because he was the one breaking it, and he said end of April and everything else. And the more it is, and the more he's got wrong, I just think there's been a change in his style, Kenny. So I don't know. I'm not wanting to be negative about either of them, Keith, Barry, etc. I'm not wanting to go into that route, but it just seems like there's been a change in tact from how that's been reported from them.
Well, I've not read it. I've seen the quotes and stuff like that. I don't read the Daily Record. I don't read newspapers at all anymore. It's just one of those things I don't do. Haven't bought them for about 10 years, mate. And look, if you're being honest, then perhaps Barry has got a little bit of a history for running to Keith Jackson, but that doesn't say that he has here. There's a number of things you could say. First of all, that what I would say is that what he said about Niels Koppen, or whoever the quotes about Niels Koppen, I'll rephrase that. Well, he's not saying anything different than we've discussed on here, Stevie, or anybody else in a number of podcasts or in pubs and at the games themselves. You've got to question the guy's capabilities because there's been plenty of hits and misses. So you can't really question if somebody is kind of saying, I'm not sure if I could work with him, because what that might be, and this is just adding 2 and 2 together, making 5. If Barry had thought he was perhaps getting the job, he might have actually turned around and said, well, I'd much rather not have Niels Koppen helping me pick players. And that, to be honest, that's quite a reasonable thing. If you're going to take a job on, you would want other people. Now, I understand he's higher up in the pecking order, as it were, Niels Koppen. But at the same time, if you're going to employ someone, there's got to be a trust all the way through the line, from line manager down, And that's my kind of take on it, mate, is that I find it really disappointing always when the Daily Record have stuff about Rangers, because it's never positive. It's just never positive stuff from them. And it isn't. If you look back over the last 15, 20 years, there's always a negative spin on everything they do. You've seen them at the weekend with their Aberdeen fans and rival fans stuff. I mean, this is what you're dealing with that newspaper. So whether Barry has given them the story or not, I have no idea, and I actually don't really care. I just wish that anybody connected to Rangers would stop dealing with them. That's my kind of take on the Daily Record, mate. I just find them, it's a rag. It's a rag that doesn't like Rangers very much, and I don't know. I've just got to the point where when you, as I say, I don't read the newspapers, mate, but when you see stuff like this, I seen it online today, and you just think, why? And Kenny Miller used to get, this as well, because the story would come from Kenny Miller, it would be in the Daily Record, and I just don't understand why they go to that newspaper. If you're going to go to somewhere, put it proper, do it properly, so that you know that there's not going to be that negative spin or slant put on these things, because that's exactly what that newspaper does to Rangers and has done for decades. So it's very disappointing, regardless to where the stories came from, who gave the story, who made the story up. I don't care. That's my kind of take on it, Stevie.
There is definitely a discussion to be had. I agree with you, Sheryl, that when we discuss Niels Koppen, he has had hit and misses. I think that's fair. I would say that Egerman is a starter and will make the club a lot of money, so he's a hit, and that negates some of the misses, because when you look at Nadim Bayrami, it's very difficult when you look at how he's performed, not the type of player he is. He just hasn't, I don't think he's bothered his arse at times. And then you look at Oscar Cortez, who's been, I think he's the major one round his neck. So there's pluses and there's negatives. See, I think there's a player in Jeffy. I really like him. I really, really think that he'll come on to a game. I wouldn't have him as first choice left back, incidentally, this year. I would be looking to make changes. I would sell Redvan, and I would bring in a left back so that Jeffy could learn and be. But I think Jeffy will progress. But the problem is, Sheryl, when you spend $4 million on Bayrami, $4.5 million on Cortez, $1.5 million on Proper, when that all adds up, we're not in a position to spend $10 million and get nothing from it. So that's the biggest issue that people have with him. But the problem also is, when you're dealing in that market, it's difficult to get 100% hits. And whoever we bring in to replace him, if he is getting, because there's talk of the boy coming in from Everton, that rumour keeps coming round, although it's been denied. That still keeps coming round. What happens if, he comes in and he has a strike rate where one or two are duff as well? You're not always going to get 100%. If you got 100% in every signing, these guys would be, at the top clubs and untouchable. So I think there's definitely a discussion. I completely understand why people might not want Niels Koppen to be there anymore, but he's had plus and minuses, in my opinion. But I like you said, it's a completely different show, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main criticism of him, Stevie, is just the fact that the players that he's brought in haven't been able to do the basics for us in the league. If you talk about somebody like Proper, and I've seen a comment there, I'm not sure if Proper was one of his or linked to Philippe Clement, but if you look at guys like, I don't know, looking at Jeffy's done all right. I think I agree with you. I would keep him. I would do my best to get rid of Redvan and have him there, like you say, learning from somebody else or working with a new manager who can help him on the defensive side of things. But if you look at Nadim Bayrami, that's been disastrous. Do you know, aside from the Old Firm games and the odd game in Europe, it just hasn't worked. And I think we're at the point now with him where you just say, thank you very much. He doesn't look interested in being here. It just hasn't worked out. But we need somebody in that position who can look at where we are and what we need. And first of all, we need players that can come in and cope with the Scottish game and do the bread and butter stuff for us. And I think that's a fair criticism that has been levelled at him, that we don't have enough of that. Do you know, Europe at the moment, for where we're at, is a bonus for us. It's brilliant to go away and do well and progress in the Europa League. but we need a set of players in that can produce for us away at St Mirren, away at Dundee, at home against Hibs. And this is whoever comes into that role. Koppen might stay. I kind of like the thought of the guy from Everton coming in and linking up with Kevin Velwell and having maybe a better idea of the British market. But it's very difficult to kind of decipher whether it's a good idea whether he stays on or not. Kenny, your thoughts?
The squad building hasn't been good at all since he turned up. You can't pretend it is. It just hasn't. We're 17 points away from a decent Celtic side, but I've seen far better Celtic sides than this. A lack of pace, a lack of physicality, a lack of being able to identify players that will play in this league. That's a fundamental failing on his part. There's just no question on that for me. But there has been hits. There's just no question of it. I think Diamandi's a cracking player. I think Igaman, Yefte, there's been a few that he's done well with. Although there is debate about Igaman being, I think it's a Philip Clement signing, wasn't it? It was, but who knows? But the point I would make on this is that this debate has been going on all season. You know, because Keith Jackson's come out with it today, we're kind of discussing it again. But there can be no doubt that when the new owners come in, they're going to have to look at our track record over the last 2 seasons and who's responsible for it and who maybe needs just pushed to one side or pushed back a little bit, and new people coming in and taking this club forward, like the guy from Everton, as just, you know, the two of you discussed. But my problem with Niels Koppen is that I'm not convinced with him at all. That's where I am with it. I genuinely am not convinced that he's doing a particularly great job. And that is basically driven, my opinion is driven purely on the fact that we haven't won a trophy this season. We won one last season. We're 17 points behind this season. I don't know how many it was behind last season. The squad is a poor Rangers squad. And with the money that he's been given, and I understand last summer we cut back and all the rest, but with the money given, we shouldn't have been 17 points behind. And I think he has got a huge responsibility to take with where we are actually at this minute in time.
Yeah, all fair. Listen, I'm neither in the camp or out of it with regards to Niels Koppen. I just try and add a wee bit of balance. I think there's been pros and cons. The rumour, and it's been rumoured for a while, denied by the club officially, is that Dan Purdy is coming as head of recruitment from Everton. That's been going on for quite a while. Denied, completely denied. So we'll just need to wait and see. I still think there'll be changes. I think, you know, people will come in, head of recruitment, head of academy and stuff like that. So, and Rangers, you know, would quite naturally deny things. Excuse me, I'm not coughed all day. Would naturally deny things, but sometimes they have to, just by the nature of the business and things. Massive thanks to our friend again. Bluebells are blue, gifting 5 memberships for the podcast. I think this lad basically sponsors our podcast all on his own. He's so kind and generous, so we really appreciate that. Fraser McDonald, I think, has signed up for the membership as well. I've seen that name come up on the screen as well. So 7 pod memberships picked up. We really appreciate that. Everybody get your questions in, because I am noting them as well. I am noting them down. And we'll get to them at the end, just as we talk about stuff as well. Steve O'Jares became a YouTube member as well. We really appreciate that. Just for all the YouTube members, you can get access to our interviews behind the scenes with Stephen A. Smith, Bob Malcolm, Stevie Smith, etc. So there is perks for being there. If you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. It is not a prerequisite. It is not. It's just to help us. So we really appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe on the podcast on YouTube, that's just as helpful. We really love that. I think we're very close to closing in on 7,000 subs, so we really appreciate that. Moving on, let's perk it up a wee bit. Because this is an exciting time And I know that there's a lot of speculation going on, and that's really difficult. Thank you. I'm just going to interrupt myself. John Turner's gifted on our 5 memberships as well. Thank you, John. We really appreciate that. They're at the top, folks. If you want to grab one, please do. I think this is a really exciting time, Kenny. We have a new manager coming. We have a takeover coming. The issue is that it's going on. And that's becoming an issue for us. And I think we all kind of feel that way with regards to the time scale. It's just unfortunate how that's happened. And that's something that I think sometimes I feel, I don't know, sometimes I'm like, right, it's going to be Gerrard. There was all the stuff last week. I was then convinced that it was Gerrard. Now I'm back the other way, convinced that it's Ancelotti Jr. At points, I thought it was Marco Rose. Then I thought it was Danny Rule. Then I thought it was Gerrard again. Then I thought it was Ancelotti. Then Gerrard. I feel like I've been all over the place. But I don't think we're really any further forward with regards to chat over the weekend. Chris said this morning that he's hopeful that there'll be talks with Ancelotti in the next few days, and he's hopeful that there'll be an answer by the end of the week. I think that everybody is kind of pointing towards Ancelotti Jr. Could there be a third, candidate we don't know, or a fourth, people wide of the mark that we don't know about? We might be, but it's difficult, I think, as a fans to keep up with this. How do you make of the current standings, Kenny, on it all? Have you changed? How are you coping with everything going back and forward? And there's a lot of guesswork, isn't there? I think that's clear.
Yeah, there is. But the situation is that yourself, you've sat and said on here that the takeover won't happen till the end of May to between the middle of June. Chris has said the same. The club said last week that they didn't expect any announcements last week to happen. And you would say that you would expect, put it a different way, you would think Rangers fans are an intolerant, frustrated lot of people. And we are, because we wanted to know. We are, in, as you say, we're sitting in that state of flux at this minute in time where nothing's happening. The season's finished. We don't have a manager. We don't have new owners. We don't have a new manager. We're just desperate to see what's going to happen, Stevie. And as I say, I'm as impatient as the next man. But actually, funnily enough, with this, I'm actually being fairly patient about it because we don't have any choice. Going by the timeframes that we are being told, there's not an awful lot we can do about it. We're just going to have to wait. However, I want it done yesterday. I want it done right now. I want to know everything. I want to know all of their plans. But in terms of the manager, nobody knows. Again, I seen it on Twitter today, and some guy again saying that there's been X amount of meetings in Ibrox today, and I'll let you know the champagne's on ice. And you're thinking, what do you think? The 49ers are walking out of a meeting in Ibrox, not happening for a start, but in Ibrox, and telling wee Jimmy on the door or something like that, and the wee Jimmy on the door's relaying it to so-and-so. I just find this mad that we've got these guys coming out with stuff like this. I don't understand where they get their information, and maybe people do. Don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting they don't get information. What I'm saying is that I don't believe for a minute that they know everything that's happening, and they can't. And that's the frustration for me more than anything else, Stevie, is that you've said it yourself. 1 minute it's Steven Gerrard, the next it's Ancelotti. So-and-so in the know is telling you, I'm putting my house on this. The other guy sitting saying, I'm betting my life savings on the other guy, and nobody knows. And we're just going to have to sit and wait and see, because what else can you do? And as I say, in terms of my preferred choice, I genuinely don't know, because a bit like yourself, and I'll be quick here, a bit like yourself, when you say Ancelotti, I start doing a bit of digging and I quite fancy it. And then when Gerrard comes to the fore, I start thinking about the positive aspects of that. And I go, oh, I don't actually mind the idea of Gerrard coming back all of a sudden, and then you just sit there and think, well, you know, we're just going to have to wait and trust the new owners. And what I will say is that I don't mind them taking their time on this, Stevie, because, as I said to you maybe last week, whoever gets this job, they have to hit the ground running. They're going to have to. The 49ers are going to have to. They're going to have to. The new players are going to have to. We can't start this next season badly because it puts everybody concerned under huge amounts of pressure. So we're just going to have to be a little bit more patient than we usually are, I'm afraid. And let the guys go on with it, and it'll take care of itself. And who I want, I don't know. That's where I'm at now. I'm not confused.
One thing I've tried not to do on this show is to appear in the know when it talking about Rangers and the manager or the takeover or whatever. I don't know. That's the God's honest truth. If I've got a bit of information on the signings which we've had on the site in the past, I'll let you know. But apart from that, I do not know. And it's actually been quite a relief because it's been so back and forward, Cheryl, that I've been unable to keep up with times. There was a new name linked to the weekend, Brian
Priske.
Brian Priske, yep, who, you then go and research him all and you wonder, is that, just a story again from the tabloids you don't know? Huge thanks to Big Rod. Again, another gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, folks, your support tonight. That's 15 gifted memberships on the show so far, which we really appreciate. But Cheryl, it's so difficult to keep up, isn't it? I mean, I just feel like one way I have my own personal opinion, which I've tried to keep to myself of where I might like it to go. But do you have a preference of what type of manager? Not necessarily who it is, but what type. You haven't been on in a few weeks, so I'm tempted to ask you to see what your kind of feeling is on who what kind of figure you would like to see in. I'm not asking you to choose or tell us what your thoughts are between Gerrard or Ancelotti Jr., etc. But what would you like to see?
Do you know what? It's something I actually feel really, really nervous around, Stevie. And it's I think over the last few years, it's become such a term that we attach to Rangers, that kind of scar tissue in terms of when we look back at the last few managerial decisions that we've made, they've been awful. So I feel really quite nervous around that we don't do something similar. It's such a huge decision. We look at how things have gone over the last 10 years. We look at where we want to go to, how far behind we are now, and just how huge a decision this is for us. So I actually really feel I'm dead excited. I'm so excited about the takeover, what that's going to bring us, the opportunities it's going to bring us, the clear out that we're going to need to have. But I feel really tied to the fact that this is a decision that we must get right. And for me, I can see, I'm like you, I go back and forward on them both. I absolutely loved Steven Gerrard when he was with us. And I know that, I think I said a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't entirely pleased with the way that he left, but we also know that there was other things going on in the background, and perhaps the blame lies with the board more than Steven Gerrard. I think he was possibly promised things that then didn't materialise. I want somebody that knows the Scottish game. I keep coming back to it. I said it when we spoke before. We need somebody that can come in and do the bread and butter and guide us through that and know what we're coming against, know how to play against a low block. We need somebody that can do the basics for us and know the league really well. Ancelotti's dead exciting, but that's more of a project. Yep, Steven Gerrard, great, knows the club, knows what we're about, but again, hasn't done great things since he left. So for me, there's no straight obvious decision. There's pros and cons with both of them. And again, I'm sure we will at some point, we could do a pod on, for or against and votes, etc. But we need somebody that can come in and shake things up, look at the club with fresh eyes, but have a really, really clear direction and where we're going, where they're taking us, and know what they need to do, especially in terms of getting that league back to Ibrox.
I was never really in the Frisk camp, but that is enough to terrify me more than life itself. As everybody knows, I am not. One thing I have done is I've said I'm not a Russell Martin fan, and that is not a Russell Martin personal thing. I just don't think his style of football would work. I think it's possession-based. I don't think that works here in this league. I think we've seen it. I think it becomes a glorified horseshoe when you're playing the low block and stuff, and I don't think it works. I think we've had really good coaches in Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, in Philippe Clement, in Michael Beale, who are all good coaches, but not able to change their style enough to be able to do something different. And that would be my biggest fear under Russell Martin. So if Frisk is like a Danish Russell Martin, then that's good enough for me to continue with that opinion. A lot of comments about an incident in Liverpool, a lot of people talking about it. We're not ignoring it. It's just something that, without knowing what's really happened, I don't really want to overly discuss. It's terrible scenes, etc., what's happened at the parade there. So we just wish everybody all the best and hope everybody's all okay. Don't want to ignore the comments, but I just don't know what to say about it other than send our best wishes down there, folks. So there's a lot of comments. I think this is quite apt. Far too much here. Far too much here for me. So yep, he's not. I'm not going to accept him. That's absolutely for sure. Let's get to a few. There's a few comments in question marks that I've kind of edited up. Did anyone watch Napoli game? Brilliant. That's the way to celebrate a title. Footage was unbelievable. I have a personal vested interest. Delighted for Napoli. So I did watch that, or I seen it afterwards. I was busy on Friday night actually. I was at Bathgate hosting a night with Pedro Mendes and Chris Boyd for 5 stars, which was excellent fun. So thoroughly enjoyed catching up with the Napoli highlights when I seen it. Question here: do you think Lawrence Shankland will be Ibrox on a free transfer? I would take him because he's Scottish and because I think he would add value to the squad. I don't take him as a starter, but I think he would add value to the squad. Sheryl, Kenny, any further thoughts on that?
I don't know. And I don't think he's going anywhere far away. That's because I know somebody that knows him. And I don't think he's going anywhere out of the country, put it that way. So where he goes, I genuinely don't know. Would I take him? Yeah, probably would if you're talking about your third choice striker and you get him in the right money. But the simple, brutal truth of that is that we've got 3 strikers at this minute in time. And I think if you're bringing in Lawrence Shankland, then 2 of them would have to go because I want another first choice number 9 in there next season. So, and I know Eggman is the potential to do that, but I don't see him playing 50, 60 games next season. So we need a number 9, a first choice, which if we're bringing Shankland in means we're going to have to look at Cyril Dessers and Danilo and moving them on in one way or another. And this is part of the issue, isn't it? A lot of this stuff is going to be up in the air until the new manager comes in and has a bit of a look at some of these guys. So I'm not sure where we are with it in terms of how far down the road we are in regard to recruitment. But as I say, that would be my take on it. If he's a second, third choice striker, yeah, the boy will score goals in this league. Of that, there is no doubt. He's done it all his career. So, yeah, I wouldn't be totally against that at all.
Sheryl, would you take him as part of your squad or
yes,
better?
as a backup. Just as a backup, Stevie, yeah. Absolutely. Again, just to come on, exactly like Kenny said, a couple of goals in the league. If you're struggling against St Mirren on a horrible Wednesday night in the league, I think he would do a job for you there. I agree. I think it was Thomas that said we need to be aiming a wee bit higher, but as backup in the league, I would have absolutely no problem with that.
Okay, Aaron asked, Stevie, what do you think about being left field in a possible duo with Gerrard and Ancelotti? Absolutely no chance at all. Football Manager stuff there, I'm afraid. I don't think it's one or the other. In my opinion, I don't think that's possible to have both of them. Another question.
Bankrupt, wouldn't we, before we even started? The cost of that, gee whiz.
Would you go back and get Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, Rangers End, who's a very big supporter of the channel, etc. online? We really appreciate that. Would you go back and get Giovanni Van Bronckhorst? No. Long and short of it, I think Gio did an excellent job, and we're probably too harsh on him, but a lot of people remember the football wasn't great under Gio in the league, a lot of it, and then it petered out, and then the season after we were 9 points behind at the point where Gio left. I think got beaten at St Mirren and St Johnstone, possibly in the same week. It was a nightmare week, I remember. I can't remember the scores for the life of me. I'm sure we got beaten both of them. But I just think it was the right time for Gio. And that's of a guy who got us a Scottish Cup and took us to the European final. Was he back properly? No. I think he said last week he wouldn't come back anyway. So I don't think that's much of a... I think Gio probably will be remembered the way he should be, which is a good manager for us who took us to the European final and won the Scottish Cup. But I just don't think domestically Gio cracked it well enough throughout his whole season. I called for him to go. I don't change my mind on that. I wouldn't go back on that. Question here as well. Good evening, folks. Interested to know what your thoughts are. New manager, minimum expectations. How have to win the league or a good run in all competitions and give our rivals a title race? Sheryl, what is your minimum expectations for this new manager? I have my own, but I'm quite keen to hear yours first.
I'm going to say at least one cup and give them a really, really good challenge in the league. Run them close, run them much closer than we have done, and at least one cup, if not two. I think we're kind of short in time, and this is what's concerning me slightly as well. We've got the Europa Games coming up the middle of July. I don't know if it's realistic to expect somebody to come in. We need a really good clear out as well. For me, that's going to take, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 transfer windows to make sure that we get everybody out that needs to be out. But also we need to get everybody in that needs to be in and build a proper squad. So in the first year, I would look for at least one, a serious league challenge and at least one cup and a decent Europa run as well. Not asking for much, but that's what I want.
Kenny?
Being serious, I want them to win the league. My expectations at the start of every season are to win the league. It might be unreasonable. People might see that and hear that and think I'm being unreasonable. I don't think I am. It's Rangers. I expect Rangers to win the league every single season. Naturally, we're not going to do that, but that's my ambition at the start of every single season. I expect the guy to get back quite well, whoever that new manager may be, and go and build a team. We've seen it on Saturday. We've seen it since December. And I know that Celtic will turn around and sign new players as well, Stevie. They're gettable. There's just no getting away from that for me, that you've got to call a spade on this. They are a good side. They are not a great Celtic side. Build a team, get a good manager, and you will more than challenge them this next season, no doubt in my mind. And as I say, without being a drama guy about it, my expectation every single season is for Rangers to win the league. So that's kind of where I am.
My expectations is similar, but I don't think that's realistic because of the state we're in. What I would like to see, though, is us be better than everybody else. Now, people are saying we're second. We are better than everybody else. 16 games we didn't win last year. We either drew or lost. That just can't happen again. I can accept being beaten in an Old Firm game because these games are one-off, and even with a Duff team this year, we scalped them a good few times. So I think that's my first and foremost concern. If we can beat everybody else, then I think that will take us close. They don't and have never experienced pressure in this last decade or so where Rangers win an early game, and then they need to go away. We would always blow it. And that's what I want to see of this Rangers team, being strong enough to put them under enough pressure to see how they'll cope. So this needs a lot of work. I don't think it's as simple as a one window situation. But what I do think is that we can't afford to come back next summer and correct the mistakes of this window. And we cannot keep doing that. So that's my biggest thing in terms of expectation. Silverware is a minimum. So somewhere he has to find something, whoever the new manager will be, whether it's a League Cup, a Scottish Cup, or indeed the league, which would be ideal. A run in Europe, obviously. So it's minimum. It's minimum expectations, I think, but so much work to do. And I think that's the biggest thing. The league's the obvious one. obviously, but just make us better than everybody else, and I think it takes us there automatically. Question from AMCG86: any update on the takeover? Takeover's in its final stages. The outcome was always going to be end of the month, middle of June period. So I think that we'll very shortly start hearing things regarding this within the next few weeks. That's where I am. If it's really unlucky, then it'll be the end of next month. But past that, I think that'll be where we are. Is there any update on it? No, because you won't hear an update as such. They're not going to come out every single day. That is now with lawyers, legal terms. People have signed non-disclosures, etc., etc. None of that's going to be discussed either way. So update on the takeover is just simply as being reported that in the next course of the next few weeks, you're going to start hearing news about the wheres and the whens of that, and hopefully it is soon. Sooner the better. We need that finalised so that we can move on with that as well. Question here, I'm going to chuck to you guys. I'm just working my way through all the questions and all the points that I can. Matt Weir, do you feel that if we get Ancelotti the club, we get a British coach to complement him, such as Stephen Davis or Big Dunk? Cheryl, there was rumours, wasn't there, of Andy Mannion, I think it was, at the weekend, possibly coming in Stockport County assistant. That was being discussed as a rumour at the weekend. Again, we don't know the truth in that. But would you go and get somebody like Stephen Davis? He was linked actually to Stephen Gerrard's backroom team, I believe, that possibly would be coming in. Would I go and get Big Duncan Ferguson? No, that's just my own personal opinion on Big Dunk, and I hope to Christ he doesn't hear it. But what's your thoughts on your own kind of coach in terms to help any new manager that might come in?
I think I can't ever take Duncan Ferguson seriously again after hearing that clip from his audiobook. If you guys haven't seen it, please, or haven't heard it, please go and seek it out on X, because I heard it on the early hours of Sunday morning and I'm still obsessed with it. But if you listen to it, you'll then understand why I can't ever consider Duncan Ferguson. Not that you really could consider him seriously beforehand, but especially not now. It's just linked to his nether regions. That's all I'm going to say. Please seek it out. It's absolutely fantastic. And I've listened to it about 1,000 times, and I'll probably listen to it another 1,000 times. Back to the main case in point, I'm a massive Stephen Davis fan. He adores the club. He was a legend here. Loved him as a player, not so much as a captain. I didn't think he was a particularly great captain for what we were needing at the time, but I think he would be an excellent addition to a backroom team. He knows the staff, he knows the club, he knows the players, he knows the fans, he knows what we're about. We all absolutely adore him. For me, yeah, he would be a no-brainer as part of a backroom team. Absolutely.
Good evening, Gary. One of my very good friends from America. I always bring up Gary's comments because I'm biased that way, but we grew up together. A very top lad. Good evening, Gary. Hope you're well, mate. Kenny, any thoughts on a British style coach assistant? Big Dunk, Stephen Davis. Who would you be going for?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Yes, I would like to see somebody like Stephen Davis back at the club. Yes, absolutely. Where he is with his coaching badges, I'm not quite sure, because I think he was just finishing his A badge, wasn't he, when he left the club? I think, if I could be wrong there, but I remember reading something about that. So if he's finished that, he'd be fully qualified. Yeah, but in terms of British coaches, I'm not too sure in what way. To me, that these a coaching team or a coaching staff or a management team, whatever way you want to put it, it's about personalities. It's about blending with each other. It's been able to turn around and delegate certain duties to certain people that are best for it. So if it was to be Ancelotti, I'm not sure he would necessarily be looking at someone like Stephen Davis at all, because he doesn't know him, doesn't know anything about him. It's a bit of a risk bringing somebody that you've never even met before, effectively, into your inner sanctum like that. So, but if it was Stephen Gerrard, then yeah, you could see him looking at somebody like Stephen Davis and saying, yeah, you come and I'll bounce my ideas right off of you, because you know I think Gerrard had that amazing appreciation for Stephen Davis as a player. So you know, you could tell, even, you know, if you look back way back even then, you know, on the touchline and stuff like that, Davis would go over all the time and sit, and there would be a wee bit of a conflab, and it would come back out, and Davis would sit there and reorganise slightly and stuff like that. So yeah, Big Dunk, no thank you. And I've heard it, and absolutely not.
I've not heard it, and it's going to stay that way. Somebody says Big Dunk's going to get you, Stevie. I actually thought about reaching out for Duncan Ferguson to come on the podcast and to kind of discuss his book, but he's done it everywhere, so I don't want to do things that have been everywhere. And plus, there is the chance that he would slap me silly, so maybe just avoid that one. Bluebells he's done it again. Gifted another 5 memberships to the podcast, folks. Grab them if you can. They are there. That's 10 he's gifted in one show. 20 tonight have been gifted. We really appreciate that. I think that's just about us. I really do. I think 50 minutes is enough. It's over 4,300 you're watching, which is incredible. We really appreciate the support. I think we've discussed everything. Cheryl, you were talking about the European draws of who we could possibly get, and remind me again who that is, because
it's Panathinaikos, Servette, and SK Bran. Yeah. Okay,
well, we really need to get our finger out before that all happens, because that is right round the corner, isn't it? I don't think that's unfair to say. So, yeah, there's no time really. We need to get our finger out. It'd be really nice if by the end of the week we were in a position to at least know where we are, folks, and so that we could bring new news. Because I realise that on the show it's difficult, isn't it? Because you want to do a show, you want to talk to people, but there's nothing really more that we can tell you, apart from just discussing what's really going on. Big thanks to Haggis Killer. He's become a member. We really appreciate that. Thanks as well for all the questions. Final one for you, Cheryl. I think you should answer this. I think it's only fair.
2 things. I'm going to say it's lime green. There's shades of green. That's lime, and it was already here when I moved in. That's my defence.
Green's green, Kenny, but it is what it is. Listen, thank you, everyone. Thank you to our members. Really appreciate it. We started off just shy of 300. We're well over 300 now, so we really appreciate that. I'm going to go off and watch Ross County versus Livy, which I really enjoy my championship football, and then it'll be a few weeks of football rest. The pod will continue. Kenny and I will be back for our duo session on Wednesday. That'll be during the day. We reckon probably 6 o'clock, Kenny, Wednesday night, we were thinking about going for. And then the pod will be back Thursday night with a change of kind of folk on Andy Stewart. Andrew Anderson hopefully will be back. Calvin as well. People keep asking for Calvin, so he'll be back as well on Thursday. And then we'll have updates. If anything breaks, we will try and get on as soon as it breaks to update you as well. I'm not sure who it will be. Just we all work and things like that. So we will try and do our best to bring all that. But Cheryl, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me back. I'll try and get the wallpaper changed for the next one. But it was lovely to be back with you both. I've missed you very much.
I can't comment about anything, Kenny. I'm in my dungeon of doom. So can't comment on any wallpaper. But at least it gets me peace and quiet to do these things. Really appreciated having you on, mate.
Thank you, mate. I've got a placard for you. Remember, need to get that over to you. And Cheryl, ignore the haters. Stevie, I once turned up in one of these podcasts with a grey T-shirt on, and Stevie told me it looked too green. Get it off. Not a word of a lie. So, lime green, nothing the matter with that.
C-Mag, I'm sorry, buddy. I do my best. I'm not a professional. I'm just a fan like everybody else, but I'll be better. Folks, have a wonderful evening. I'm off to watch football. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clyview Joinery, Athlon Industrial Solutions, and CSD Air Conditioning. Black Rooster and Art of Gold are partners as well. We thank you. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for everybody that's watching. And we'll see you again Wednesday. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clyview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.